So recently, okay, I haven't actually started playing Silksong yet, let me finish Hollow Knight first. But what I have been doing is seeing the general discussion around Silksong. And from what I've been seeing, it's pretty damn hard. Even gaming legend Darkside Phil was struggling. I didn't really have any input on this because, well, I haven't played the dang game. But then I saw a clip posted by fellow content creator Skitty Bitty about the game's difficulty that really made me think about this whole thing a lot more. To paraphrase their thoughts, they made the argument that every video game should have an easy mode. Not everybody has the time or dedication to master every single challenge in a game like Silksong. Some people are just there for the story or the characters or the experience. And the people saying games shouldn't have difficulty options are inherently gatekeeping less experienced players from having the same experience. Now, I didn't entirely disagree with this. Skitty was then bullied so hard they privated their Twitter. But was this really a bad take? I see video game difficulty get debated all the time on the internet. Games are too hard, games should have easy modes, games shouldn't have easy modes. I want worse games with more difficulty spikes, and I'm not kidding. This might be one of the only topics I see the least amount of people in the gaming space agree on. So I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring and give my take on the whole thing. First, I need a hat. Also, it's important to note that all of the discussion today is going to be kept to single player and local multiplayer only. It's kind of impossible to talk about the difficulty in a competitive online medium. Stuff like skill-based matchmaking, of course, exists, but the majority of what I'm talking about is not really factoring that in. That's not to say competitive games haven't had options available. Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS had 4 fun and 4 glory modes, being able to play locally with just CPUs. There's options, but it's not what will be the main focus of today. Would a game like Silksong improve if it had an easy mode? Yes, I think that goes without saying. But does it need one? When it comes to playing video games, especially challenging ones, nothing is more satisfying than trying something over and over again and slowly increasing your skill and eventually beating it. I especially feel that for games like Cuphead. I personally love its tough but fair approach to its difficulty with all of the bosses. But what if somebody else is more drawn in by the other aspects of the game? Its incredible soundtrack, its gorgeous hand-drawn art style, the really fun and creative character designs. There are plenty of reasons to love Cuphead outside of the more gamery ones. And as an 11-year-old, I was drawn in by its incredible style. And due to my personal ego, I was able to get through the game despite spending hours on certain bosses because of how much I enjoyed it. But this point only goes as far as a personal anecdote. What about somebody who doesn't have my gameristic tenacity? It's not hard to imagine somebody who wants to see Cuphead the whole way through but simply can never accrue the skill needed to do that. Maybe they don't have enough time to get that skill, or maybe they just aren't as inclined to video games as somebody else. It feels unfair to tell that person they need to just get good, doesn't it? Like, what would you say to somebody who isn't looking for a challenge but is looking to experience everything else? Sure, they could have done more research into what they were buying in hindsight, but if they thought they were good enough but later realized they weren't, it's kind of disheartening to just tell them to screw off or keep getting frustrated at something they can't do. Now, Cuphead is a game that sort of has an easy mode. When starting a boss, if you choose simple difficulty, the boss will have less phases and easier attacks. But beating a boss on simple won't let you complete the game until they've been beaten on the base difficulty. So it does try to cater towards a less experienced audience in this way. If you can't beat a specific level, you can sort of skip it by doing it on simple, then come back later when you think you're ready for it. It's an easy mode that, instead of removing some of the challenge, instead lets you postpone when that challenge needs to be tackled. It isn't fully letting worse players move on at their own skill level, but more extending an olive branch to let them get that skill in their own time. So boom, that's the solution, right? Don't slap players with challenges they can't overcome, instead beckon them to become better through meeting them on their level. Well, I don't really think that holds up for every game. To get to my next point, I need to tell you a story about me and my family playing Mario Kart. One of the first games me and my brothers have ever played was Mario Kart Wii, and whenever the three of us have a chance to catch up together, it's usually something that comes up for us to play. We've all been playing the game since forever, so it's a good time. But then my stupid brother had to go get married and ruined everything! My sister-in-law now regularly joins the fray, and is also the center of my next argument. So I heavily doubt anybody you ask would consider Mario Kart, really any of them, to be difficult games, right? Sure, there's the stupid ones, but none of them are particularly hard. Well, during one of these get-togethers of playing Mario Kart Wii, she joined and absolutely got her shit rocked. I mean consistently, 12th, 9th, 11th, 10th, it was bad. And it was clear she wasn't having fun. So the next time we all got together, I brought out Mario Kart 8 instead, and we were all able to have a good time playing. Because you see, Mario Kart 8 has this little thing Mario Kart Wii doesn't have, and that's smart steering. If I get remembered as anything, let me go down as smart steering's one defender. Turning this on will now automatically keep your car on the track no matter what. If you're taking a turn too fast and you're about to fly off the road, smart steering has got you covered. Now personally, I always turn this off because having it on not only removes a lot of the challenge I crave, but also doesn't let you go for shortcuts that are typically off-road. So unarguably, it's a nerf to your objective of crossing the finish line first. But do you really think that matters to somebody like my sister? Even if the thing wasn't on, she wouldn't have been going for them. You see, she was born with this rare condition called having a job and a social life and a third reason to not get really good at Mario Kart Wii. Suddenly, because of this, she was now getting 4th, 5th, 3rd, occasionally even 1st. Smart steering, and to a lesser extent auto-accelerate, gave her the ability to join the three of us and compete on our level. She was still technically at a disadvantage due to us being able to take shortcuts and her staying on the main road, but she wasn't getting bodied as much as in Mario Kart Wii. And easy mode here is a super good accessibility option. Genuinely, I don't think there's a single multiplayer game where an accessibility option wouldn't enhance things. In my opinion, I think every kart racer should have smart steering. And the crazy thing is, whenever I see anybody bring up smart steering, it is never in a positive light. Genuinely, who is getting hurt by options like this existing? Sure, you and your ultra gamer friends might be left feeling like stuff like this is unnecessary, but what if I want to play with my little cousins, or my mom, or my previously mentioned life-having sister? And there's also this whole argument that like, oh, you just need to get good at the game, that's what the challenge is for, it's meant to be overcome. Let me give you a scenario real quickly. I'm playing Smash Brothers with my two little cousins, which is something that happens a lot, and I'm kicking their ass. Do you think they're either going to want to overcome the challenge that I present, or be put on a team together so that they can win more often? If I tried to force them to just get better at the game until they won, then they wouldn't want to play the game with me anymore. They're 12, they don't care about the challenge, they just want to win! And this doesn't just go for multiplayer games. I would hardly consider a game like Donkey Kong Bonanza to be difficult, even in the slightest, but somebody much younger or more inexperienced than I might, so it has an assist mode. Pretty much every Mario game that's come out in the last 10 years has had some kind of power-up or alternative character that makes you invincible for that reason. And it's not even baby Nintendo games just doing this stuff either. Pretty much every modern Doom game has the option to make it easy as hell or difficult as... well, hell. Even if they do make fun of you for this, the option still exists. Celeste has an assist mode, letting you alter the game speed so you don't have to react as quickly, giving you infinite stamina so you don't have to manage your resources anymore. Perfect for people who want to experience its immaculate story or characters or music, but don't want to put a hole in their wall. And these optional modes hurt nobody. Sure, if somebody's repeatedly failing at a level over and over, there's a chance they'll dedicate and get better, but there's also a chance they'll turn the game off and never come back to it. In a world of free-to-play, where experiences like Marvel Rivals or Fortnite can be accessed by anybody with a controller, there's a good chance if somebody isn't vibing with your game because they can't beat a specific level, they'll just turn it off and go play Roblox or something. A game can only benefit by having the option of making it easier or harder, as a matter of fact. Having options for more hardcore gamers and an easy game to make it more difficult is a good thing. Like, here's an example of a game being too easy and it losing my interest. I don't bring it up often, but I'm a huge Kirby nerd. One of my favorites, if not my favorite franchise of all time. So please keep in mind when I say I absolutely cannot stand Star Allies. It has this partner mechanic where you can recruit different enemies to serve you, and they'll be running around at all times pretty much doing all of the work Kirby would usually do for him. Kirby obviously has never been difficult, but it's been engaging. And that game loses that engagement when it has the fucking lemmings running around doing all the work for you. No matter if a game is too easy or too hard, depending on the player, it can lead them to losing interest. After 10 runs, I still can't beat the Amokandra? Damn, this game is hard. I'll probably have more fun if I switch to a game that isn't as hard. Damn, after 3 hours of Star Allies, I'm still not engaged? I'll probably have more fun if I switch to another game that is harder. The concept of somebody just sticking it through until they become better at a game works conceptually. That's how arcade games became successful back in the day, after all. But now that we live in the world of options that is modern gaming, the ability to tone things down or ramp them up is needed. Recently, I finally got around to playing Bolt Gun and started getting bored after around an hour. until I turned the difficulty up and suddenly I became way more engaged. And that's not even to mention the other ways modern gaming can augment the difficulty for certain games. Let's look at a game like Mega Man. I think we can all agree, pretty hard game, right? Very few lives, very unforgiving with the obstacles and enemies, and there's no way to save your game, so if you turn off the console, you have to start over. I don't think it's controversial to say it's a very unapproachable game. So that's why, fast forwarding to the Mega Man Legacy Collection, they introduced save stating and rewind features. Now at the push of a button, you can save the state your game is in. No more needing to restart everything if you dare turn your game off. There's also the ability to rewind, so if you're struggling with a specific segment, it can be repeated without having to go throughout the entire level again. This also goes for Castlevania and the Castlevania Legacy Collection, or pretty much any game on Nintendo's online service. A lot of old games like this can be hard as hell, and offering features like this can greatly improve the experience for anybody. I would consider myself someone who's pretty good at video games, but there's no way I'm playing Mega Man without the ability to save. Yes, these technically make the game you're playing easier, and definitely were not intended by the original developers, but in a lot of instances, it's the preferred way to play. I see way more people dunking on save states and rewind compared to easy modes as a whole. If you use them, you're not having the true experience, or you didn't really beat them. Well, here's the thing. Would you rather me, in your eyes, have an invalid experience, or no experience? Because for a game like Mega Man or Mario The Lost Levels, sure, I'll give it a fair try without these features, and if I find myself not enjoying it anymore, I'll use them. Because if I don't use them, I'm not having fun, well, that's just where the playthrough ends. I'm not having a good time, so I turn it off. I'm aware rewind and save states is a little disconnected from easy modes on the whole, but these are both ways the player can make a video game more enjoyable for them. Easy modes and third-party methods of changing a game can only make video games more inclusive for those who live vastly different lives. The ability to augment your experience like this is something that any game could benefit from. I mean, obviously Stardew Valley doesn't really need this one way or the other, but if your game is built around challenge in any way, then difficulty slider, or if the game is older, save stating can make it better for the player. I seriously cannot think of a single game that wouldn't improve with... Fucking hell, that's loud! Okay, keep in mind what I'm about to tell you is gathered from like 10 minutes of looking at the Elden Ring wiki and about 5 minutes of reading a Reddit post. Not because I didn't play Elden Ring, just because I didn't understand a damn thing that was going on. In Elden Ring, you play as a Tarnished, one of the descendants of Lord Godfrey. The Tarnished are one of the only ones that can restore the Elden Ring and bring Kumbaya back to the land. The problem being is that the Tarnished suck. They are horrible picks for this, but they are the only ones who can do it. And this is reflected in gameplay. I'm not breaking new ground by saying Elden Ring is a hard game, but what I am saying is that it's meant to be hard. The world of... Okay, let's be real here. Literally every FromSoft game is an unforgiving one. There's death and decay and despair pretty much everywhere you look. It's like a medieval Detroit, and you as a Tarnished are not only at a disadvantage by being new to this world, but also being a frail little baby in it. The Tarnished are meant to be horribly underpowered. You are meant to be horribly underpowered. Pretty much every boss looks down on you for being a stupid little guy. Everybody in this world attacks you, and the ones not attacking you are worse off than you are. It is made to be an unforgiving and cruel existence, and the game's rampant difficulty reflects this. I don't think the world or the story Elden Ring is trying to communicate would have the same impact behind it if it was easy. This goes for the Dark Souls games as well, but I haven't played the first two, and I stopped playing the third one because it was too hard. I am my own worst enemy. Of course, if Dark Souls 3 had the option to make it easier, I probably would have been able to continue through seeing it to the ending. But that's not the experience they wanted to craft. They wanted it to be unforgiving. That's kind of Dark Souls' whole shtick. FromSoft didn't want to meet the players on their level. It's either get good or get out. Taking this gameplay philosophy in a vacuum, I disagree with it, but with the way it's integrated into the story and world of Elden Ring, I think it's honestly justified here. And shockingly, this isn't my only example of a game doing something like this. I would consider Undertale to be another case of where difficulty options would make the experience worse. Undertale has three main... You know what? I don't have to explain this to you. It's fucking Undertale. You know what I'm talking about. In Undertale, you play as a human child who has fallen into the underground and needs to get out. On the pacifist route, you go through meeting strange characters, solving puzzles, traumatizing yourself. But that's not what we're talking about. I mean Undertale's genocide route. If instead of sparing everybody, you instead choose to fight and kill everyone, you'll be on the genocide route, changing various things throughout your regular playthrough. Towns become evacuated, shops become barren, the people who remain are scared of you. I don't think the genocide route would have the same same punch without the increased difficulty. Some friends now turn into bosses, go down in one hit, but others are a bit more tenacious than that. Sans is the comic relief character of pretty much the entire game in Pacifist, but in Genocide, he's the final boss. And his one goal as a boss isn't trying to defeat you, he's trying to make you, the player, stop playing. Undertale is pretty known for some of its characters being able to break the fourth wall, and Sans is one of them. He's aware of your ability to save and reload the game. He knows if he kills you, you'll go back to that last save and try again. Sans' objective isn't to try and defeat you, he is literally trying to make you rage quit, starting with his strongest attack first, slightly altering his patterns between attempts just to screw with you. If you even try to spare him at this point, he has a new move that just insta-kills you and he tells you to get dunked on. He wants to make you upset. He wants to make you stop playing, because if you stop playing, then you can't continue your playthrough and nobody else has to die at your hand. He knows killing you in-game will do nothing, so the only thing he can do is to try to make you, the player, mad enough to where you'll never want to play the game ever again. He isn't as much as a boss as he is a punishment. To even reach this point, you have to go through the entire game killing nearly every character you probably grew attached to during the Pacifist route. You chose this route, so this is what you get. Honestly, you could consider the Genocide route itself to be Undertale's hard mode, but honestly, I think it's disconnected enough to where it's mostly its own thing. Also, considering Undertale already has a hard mode if you name yourself Frisk. If the Genocide route had an option to make it easier, then what would even be the point? The whole purpose behind the route is that you're the bad guy and everyone else is trying to stop you. And if the game gave you an option to make it easier, I don't think it would work at all. In these two, and probably many more instances, a game's difficulty works at expanding its purpose. In both Undertale and Elden Ring, you're somebody who isn't welcome in this world. Sure, there are characters who accept you into it, but for the large part, you really shouldn't be here. If everything about Elden Ring and the Genocide route stayed the same, but the difficulty was dropped, I believe it would lose a lot of their meanings. Also, sorry I've been stealing footage for Undertale off the internet this whole time. I tried playing the Genocide route for footage, but I killed Toriel and got sad, so I stopped. So wait a second, the point about the difficulty being the point is entirely contradictory to my last argument about difficulty options making a game better. You can't say a difficulty slider would make any game better while also saying Elden Ring would be worse off with it. A lesser video essayist would probably be leaning towards a centrist conclusion to this argument, kind of choosing both of them to avoid conflict. But you see, I'm way better than them. Mine will only be center-leaning. Largely, I still think most video games could only get better with the ability to augment the challenge to match your skill level. But notice me using the words largely and most there. They're more rare, but when a game is entirely built around how hard it is, or how easy it is for that matter, then I think it's better off without it. You try and picture an Animal Crossing hard mode if you think you're so smart. And don't just say regular capitalism. I think a solid 99% of video games would be better with the ability to change the difficulty. But there's still that 1% that really earns forgoing it entirely. I say in most instances, whether going up or going down, the game should meet the player where they are instead of the player having to meet the game where it is. But depending on what the piece of art is trying to do, it should be up to the player to meet the game where it is. Sometimes the hardness is part of the experience, and I think that's a valid way of making a game. In short, I believe Skitty has a valid point with what they were saying, and I think the every once in a while game not having difficulty options to preserve artistic intent should be the exception and not the rule. And of course, this whole argument of difficulty is ignoring accessibility. You know, those options that allow people who are physically or mentally disabled from enjoying a game regardless of difficulty, such as people who have color blindness, vision problems, hearing problems, carpal tunnel issues, reading problems, dexterity issues, people who lost their limbs or weren't born with them at all. I don't think I'm smart enough to tackle this wider topic. I'm just a gamer. Hey, thanks for watching whatever that was. I really appreciate how you didn't click off when I was defending smart steering. Ko-Fi link, give me money, here's people did that. Anyways, I was originally going to have Skitty Bitty in this video to explain their side of the argument, but unfortunately due to scheduling conflicts, they couldn't make it in. But I hope if you did see this video, Skitty, you don't hate it. Anyway, bye-bye, good night, I love you all.